Hello, everybody. This is David Scarica, stock chart of the day. So today we're going to look at oil. I've been talking for oil in a little bit. So oil are kind of like these two conflicting, I guess you could say, backdrops to it late last year. So, and I talked about like oil, the positives and the negatives for oil. So on the one hand, we kind of had oversupply in oil. And that's one reason oil fell back into the 60s late last year. And but on the other hand, we also had a seasonal trade where oil usually bottoms in December, and of course, we've now seen that. Now, this is Oil K, which is an ETF, an oil ETF, and you can see that bottom in early December. And if we go look at problem on stock charts, is the oil is not a real time quote, right? It's this is as of yesterday, right? So and today's the 27th. So yeah, so you can see went to as low as about 68. Now we're here. We're actually right at the 200-day moving average. We've got some resistance here around 78 or so, 78, 79. And if that breaks, it probably means that we can maybe head back into the 80s. So we're gonna look at here. Yeah, and you can see the oil K is right there. You can see that resistance there. And again, if it breaks as well. So seasonals can be kind of important. And of course, one underpinning demand that's going to come is that I've shown this in the past too. This is the strategic petroleum reserve. And you can see that it's been going down for over the last decade. Obama sold it off a bit, then Trump sold it off a bit, but Biden has completely depleted it. And I think it's a dual attempt to with the midterms and the election this year, try to keep oil prices down to make the electorate happy. Also, because you have this war in Ukraine. Obviously, Russia is dependent on revenues from oil, so it's kind of like trying to attack Russia because that's their main source of revenue. I think it's a totally short-sighted, awful thing. You can see that we're almost all of the reserves that were built from the early 80s to the early 2010s. So basically a 30-year period were essentially depleted in and most of them happening in just the last few years. So I don't know who Biden's advisors are, but I would say they're pretty inept. That would be my opinion, regardless of whatever your political beliefs are. I don't think it's hard to disagree with that. So I think them, it doesn't matter who wins the election, Biden or Trump, those are going to have to be stocked up. And in fairness to Trump, even though the reserves went went down under him, he did say in 2020 when those oil futures went negative and oil was like $20 a barrel, Trump asked Congress to approve replenishing the reserve, getting back up to those highs. So back then in 2020, we were probably here in like the 650 barrel range, and Trump wanted to get back up to the highs and buy oil for essentially nothing, and Congress rejected him. So in fairness to Trump, even though the oil reserves did go down under him, he did say that, and et cetera, et cetera. So it does look to me like oil has probably bottomed and now will be moving higher. And then of course we have the we have also the Federal Reserve loosening monetary policy, et cetera, all those kind of things probably starting in, right actually as the summer driving season will start. So I think we're probably set up for a good oil rally. We'll look at Exxon, one of the major stocks. Exxon, yeah, it looks like after this decline here, Exxon now above the moving at 2,200 day. It looks like it started to move higher here. And I've been talking about a small Canadian producer for a while, which is actually at a new 52-week high today as we do this. So just wanted to show you here in oil, like there still are some issues of oversupply, but Saudi Arabia and Russia and OPEC have cut supply a bit. Seasonally, we hit the oil bottomed right when it usually bottoms in December and is now moving higher. And like I said, looser monetary policy, which is probably better for commodities, et cetera, going forward, is going to start in June, July. So I do think I am quite bullish in oil. I don't know if it's going to really break back into the 60s right now. And of course, that after the election, which at this point is what we're almost into March. The election is only 8 months away. After the election, you're going to see a replenishing, in my opinion, of the strategic oil reserve, no matter who president is, because both Trump or Biden are essentially going to be one-term presidents, right? Because they're both going to be serving their second term. So that means they're not going to be so concerned about lower oil prices, et cetera. And I think that especially if Trump wins, I think there's going to be a forced ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. And that also would mean like they're not going to care so much about, trying to, decimate oil prices to hurt Russia. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this chart of the day for February 27th. And yeah, we'll have another one tomorrow. Oh, actually, tomorrow I'm going to have an excellent interview I just did with a junior mining company CEO, but we talk a lot of macro themes. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thank you very much, and take care.